This is the Mazz and Bads Show with Brandon Marrazzo and Charlie Baduini.
You already know what it is. Episode 7.
You're right, 7. Oh. You were too Mazz, you were too hyped for the start of the episode, dude.
I could not do that again if I tried. That was just like the perfect, We just rolling?
We're rolling.
You want to
Keep it going.
roll?
Keep it going.
Right.
We're keeping it. We're keeping it.
Episode 7. Bro, how did I even do that? Mazz and Bad Show. My name's Mazz. M-A-Z-Z. Brandon Marrazzo, of course, Mazz for short. Joined by the lovely Charlito Baduini, of course. Charlie, this has been a ride, dude. I'm getting invited on other podcasts. People are starting to catch on. Shout out the TikTok. Shout out the Instagram. Shout out Stefania. Shout out Tulio making this happen. And living the dream, buddy.
Living the dream. And hey, social media, big ups. We're getting some traction in the algorithm. It's working.
Well, I bet we're going to get some more traction because you just said that the top 10 list came out for the NFL. I haven't seen it yet. Blind reaction, hit me with it.
Blind reaction. So every year, the NFL players, they do a survey. They fill out their 100 best players in the NFL. They take all of those lists, average them out, and whoever's voted for the most in certain positions, that's how the list shakes out. So they finished within the past few days, and we have the top 10 players in the NFL voted on by the players. So, Mazz, we're just going to kick this off right now, starting from 10, going down to 1, all right?
Yep.
Number 10, Max Crosby of the Las Vegas Raiders.
I like it.
Number 9, Travis Kelce of the Kansas City Chiefs.
Okay.
Number 8, TJ Watt of the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Much deserved.
Number 7, Trent Williams of the 49ers.
Yep.
Number 6, Chris Jones of the Kansas City Chiefs.
I'm sorry, over TJ. TJ Watt should be the highest defender up there, in my personal opinion.
Well, number 5, Myles Garrett of the Cleveland Browns.
TJ literally just had the better season. More sacks, an interception, 3 fumble recoveries, more tackles than Garrett did by 20 tackles, total tackles.
Yeah.
I like Myles Garrett, don't get me wrong. I defended him when he got into his Mason Rudolph situation, even though they both were out of pocket, but I understood that Mason Rudolph was the ignition in that situation. I defended Myles Garrett, but I'm sorry, he should not be above TJ Watt. Nobody shouldn't, including Micah. I love Micah.
Number 4, Patrick Mahomes of the Kansas City Chiefs. I know, aren't you shocked? Didn't you assume he'd be number 1?
How is he not number 1?
Well,
in a down year, he's winning chips.
Yeah.
With no wide receivers, just a tight end. What are we doing?
Yeah. Hey, ask the players. This is the guys going up against these dudes every week voting on this. So you gotta respect it a little bit. So
voter fatigue ? All
right, we'll round out the top 3. Christian McCaffrey, 3rd best player in the NFL. Lamar Jackson, 2nd best player in the NFL.
My God.
Do you know who number 1 is? Can you guess based off of that that first 9 right there?
Tyreek Hill.
Correct.
Is it?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Okay, let's just get some things straight here, shall we? First and foremost, Tyreek's awesome. I was wrong about Tyreek, and I'm willing to accept that defeat. All right? Justin Jefferson had 1,000 yards reception playing, 8 games?
Half a season, yeah.
Nick Mullins they had 4 or 5, maybe even 6 different starting quarterbacks, and the man still put up over a K. What are we talking about anymore? He barely even played the season, puts up 1,000 yards. He doesn't got Tua, who was playing for natty titles in college. All right? He doesn't have a league MVP like some other guys. He's not in the Super Bowl due to squad strength, right? There's nothing going down up in Minnesota that is worth bragging about besides Justin Jefferson. How is this guy not the best wide receiver in the league? I just don't get it. Also, with all due respect too, right? I understand Travis Kelce being up there. George Kittle put up a better season than him this past season. All right. So if the players want to vote and say that Kelsey's better, I'm with you because historically he's got won that race. But compared to last season, Kittle got him. In the Madden gradings, Kittle should have him, and he doesn't. Right. Lamar shouldn't have even been the MVP with all due respect. He balled out, but Dak Prescott had the better quarterback season. All right. The Ravens had a better season than the Cowboys, but the Ravens also had a historically good defense. I don't know how many times I have to say this. How is Patrick Mahomes not the number one? If the quarterback is supposed to be the most valuable position in the game, how is the quarterback not the most, important player up there? I do not understand this whatsoever. Patty Mahomes is absolutely the best player in the NFL, bar none. TJ Watt has two people, including a defensive tackle, that is above him. And that defensive tackle is really, really good. However, does he have a DPOY? I don't think so. The guy who also is above him should not have beaten him for DPOY, with all due respect, because he put up better individual numbers and has a bigger impact on his organization because the Steelers literally had nothing and Cleveland at least got a really good receiver. All right, has some other great pieces at defense. So I just don't understand what's the individual awards are like. I feel like the tiebreaker is ending up what the team did, and that shouldn't be the case necessarily. All right, like you got to be looking at individual performance first. Second, I just don't understand how we're ranking these guys, bro. This is just maybe you're just cool with them. Those are your guys. Maybe you just really hate the other guys more. I don't understand what the hell we're doing anymore. Is anybody watching the same game as me? I understand that Tyreek was able to put up a ridiculous stat line at wide receiver, but he also had a way better quarterback, also has a lot more help on the offense, and has a way better coach when it comes to scheming. I mean, they're talking about this guy being a top 3 offensive mind when it comes to just play calls and style. Like, I don't know, dude. It's just like nobody wants to acknowledge all the other stuff that comes with it other than like, oh, and even we're not even like it's like Tyreek individual performance, you're going to number 1, but everybody else, oh, they outperformed you individually, but we're gonna give you team. Just give me a set rule of criteria.
So I'll push back on you a little bit there. I feel like the criteria would be like, so these guys that made this list, that are voting on this list and selected the players at these spots that they are the guys that are playing against them on the football field every weekend. The way I see it is the reason why guys like Tyreek, Lamar, CMC round up the top 3 is that's defenders saying, you go out there and cover these guys. You go out there and try and tackle Lamar in the open field, CMC in the open field. You try and cover Tyreek when he's speeding across the field, like on a crosser, like the Dolphins love to do. For the defenders, an offensive lineman, what this list says to me is that if I'm out there trying to protect the quarterback, I would, just by a little bit of a margin, I would rather be lined up across from Chris Jones and TJ Watt than that dog in Cleveland, Myles Garrett, because he physicality alone, Myles Garrett is a imposing human being. He could be, you could tell me he's a professional basketball player if I didn't know who he was, and I'd 100% believe you. That guy is built like an Adonis, okay?
He could be a champion weightlifter, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Competing in the Arnold Classic. I'm with you there. But here's my question to you, Charlie, right?
Yeah.
Just because it hurts more to play against Myles Garrett, does that mean that he's better than TJ Watt? Because he's a power rusher, right? So he's going to forklift you. You are going to feel it more. Where TJ is bending around the outside more, right? TJ can give you a power rush, but he's not as strong as Myles Garrett, right? And going on the other side, yes, Tyreek might be faster, but the other guy is harder to guard in more different spaces when it comes to Jefferson. How do we know this? Because he had a way less better quarterback. If you swap them on their teams, what do those seasons look like? I don't know. Does Nick Mullins have the arm strength to hit Tyreek Hill after he smoked a receiver down 60 yards? I don't know. I know Tua can get the ball there. Might not be the most accurate, but Tua can definitely get it out there. So I highly disagree with the players. And I'm sorry, I know I'm not out there. I'm not trying to say that I know more than players. I'm just saying, I think the physical indication of like, it's just more taxing on my body does not mean that they are the better player.
Okay, that's I can accept that. By the way, Justin Jefferson came in at number 18 on this list. I'm sure he would have been much higher had it not been for the games missed this year. I mean, hell, even Aaron Rodgers was like in the 90s if I'm not mistaken, and he played 4 snaps. So
Are you aware that he has the same rating as oh my God, help me out here. Rams quarterback Stafford in Madden this year.
listen, man, EA Sports.
Wait. Are you ready for this one?
Yeah,
Low 80s.
yeah, 83. Is that correct?
83.
Yeah.
Yep.
EA Sports. I could give less of a bleep about what they could say because they refused to give me NCAA football on my computer. So anything that they have to say, down the toilet. So
If they had given you NCAA, would that actually have a little more stake for you?
maybe a little bit.
Stop it. Yeah. Charlie, you're an Aaron Rodgers fanboy. There's that man. It's like Charlie. It is like God, family, Rodgers. And on Sundays, he's right up there with family.
You're not wrong about that, but just to rile you up a little bit more, Dak Prescott came in at 16. Jalen Hurts came in at 15.
Stop this nonsense.
Oh, that's unbelievable.
Did we not just see what my man did? How many times in a week do I have to talk about this back-to-back episodes on other podcasts? I have to keep defending this. Dude, if he's so much better than Dak Prescott is, because it's every time everybody wants to have the conversation, Jalen Hurts. Bro, swap the teams. I guarantee you that every GM wants Dak Prescott after this last season over Jalen Hurts. All right. Jalen had no excuse for not being able to ball out this year again. Other than what? Like a little fatigue because you guys went all the way and didn't get the job done. I don't understand that. Dak had one wide receiver, I believe a sophomore tight end who in the first season barely had 200 yards, a running back that underperformed and then started coming alive towards the second end of the season, a second wide receiver that underperformed, started coming alive towards the second end of the season, but the wide receiver was definitely because Dak just started getting the ball over to him more because he finally decided to start getting a little separation. All right. Defense goes down. Offensive line towards the top of penalties. Some big names on there, but they are literally the last 5 years, top 2 or 3 team in offensive penalties. All right. I'm sorry. One underperformed and one overperformed with adversity every year. Stop this nonsense. Dak Prescott is in a different category than Jalen Hurts. And I said it. Yes, the Philly organization is run better than the Dallas Cowboys. I fully accept that. Even with their down year, they're still competing with us. Yes, they made the Super Bowl. Yes, Dak did not make it there. But please stop blaming one individual for them not going as far as they should because it is everybody else, not Dak. And I said it, and that's the last time I'm going to say it until September.
So I agree with you, and I'll just go back to what I said earlier. I'm sure defensive NFL players on a weekly basis, you probably would rather see a Dak Prescott who's a more standard pocket passer, doesn't move around as much, whereas Jalen Hurts, he has the running ability. The tush push was always there this past season and the year before. It's probably just when I look at this list, when we look at the top 10, when we look at this. That's what I think the lens the players had on. I'm not saying I 100% wholeheartedly agree with it. I'm just saying that's how I feel this list was put together by the players.
Right, let's not act like right? Biasness comes in there. I've said it.
Sure.
You might really just hate a guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really might just be boys with a guy and want to hype him up. There's never going to be a complete list. Also, human perception. Me and you could look at the same situation, right? Let's take Zach Wilson with the New York Jets. I looked at that as a man being scapegoated. Others looked at that as that is problem number 1 and it needs to leave. Where I was like, that's not problem number 1. I'm not saying it's not a problem, but I can see that there is definitely something there that could be useful, where others are like, absolutely not, doesn't belong in the league, and get it the hell out of here.
Sure. All right. Well, that's the top 100 players list of this summer. Like I said, they do it every year, so I'm sure we'll come back around again on that in a year's time, Maz. Um,
I might have to give you Mazz's top 100 list just so we get it right. Ooh, did I say that?
That would be quite the episode to go 100 players deep like that. But
Offensive linemen are just going to be half the list.
yeah, I love it.
Yeah, they don't get love; they need it.
Yeah.
Quarterback can't throw the ball without protection. All right, we talk about Patty Mahomes not having any wide receivers. He has a great offensive line. That's why he's getting the time that he does. All right, even Lamar Jackson. Why is Lamar able to scramble out and do stuff with his feet? Let's not act like he doesn't have time to throw. I mean, they lead the league in rushing, I feel like, every other damn year as a unit. Starts with the big nasties up front, my friend.
I think every NFL GM would agree with you on that. But a great segue into our next topic. We had a lot of quarterback news over the past week or so. Some big extensions, one injury, and just wanted to break down, right now the highest paid quarterbacks for 2024 is a very interesting list, but we'll get to that. So first things first. Tua and the Dolphins finally landed on a contract extension. We've talked about it in weeks past that Tua he's been holding in, right? Where he's been showing up to practice but not participating physically in defiance of not getting a contract. He finally lands a 4-year, $212.5 million extension that he ties him to the Dolphins until 2028. And a little fun fact for you, Tua will make more this season than Dan Marino did his entire career in the NFL.
Oh man, don't you just love the economy going up
That's
and
crazy.
down and up and down? And it's just we are just shelling out more money, but we can afford less stuff than ever before. We'll just make it make sense. All right, this is a sports talk show. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. But listen, they had to do this, right? Because as a roster with the offense alone, they're not gonna end up in the bottom of the NFL. Right, they're not getting a lottery pick with offensive capabilities. Even if you had, Joe Schmo at quarterback here, they have Tyreek. They have a running back duo that is really awesome in Arcane and Mostert. And Mostert revitalizing the career last year, right? Of looking like, wow, this guy can actually be RB, 1B in that system. And I've also Jalen Waddle, let's not forget too, right? So where they were going to end up in the draft, barring a trade, right? There was not a good enough position. I feel like this guy has, thrown for 4,000 yards, has just got your best receiver through the roof when it comes to yardage. He is a manageable guy. You have an offensive-minded head coach that is good enough to even mask his quarterback's downfalls. I think it had to get done. Tua has proved that he's right around that bottom top 10 quarterback. I think somewhere in that 13 to 8 range, depending, right? When are you going to pick that up? You know what you have. Every time we look at the draft, how many times has a number one quarterback not panned out, right? The greatest quarterback of all time came from the 6th round. You know what you have. You stick with it. If you build the other pieces, you might be able to go all the way. I don't think they're going to, but they're definitely in that round where they have to go all in. There's no sense of blowing it up,
So I disagree with you there. Tua in the 8 to 13 range is generous. I would call him more of a bottom 16 quarterback. I think he is a product of his environment more than he is an elevation of what he has around him. I'm not saying he's a bad quarterback because obviously he can execute on offense. He puts the ball where it needs to go, although sometimes not as accurate as others. But I just believe that, prior to the Tyreek Hill trade, Brian Flores was clamoring to get Tua out of Miami and bringing Deshaun Watson in. To me, right there, I don't see how you can justify saying this guy will be your franchise guy when you've had this guy in your building for the last 5 seasons. You know that without a Tyreek Hill and a Jalen Waddle, like you said, without a running back stable of dudes with jets up their butts, without one of the best offensive scheming coaches in all of the National Football League, what is this guy? I gave you a list. I was pulling it up from this past week where I gave you those 16 quarterbacks. Like if you put Baker Mayfield in the Miami offense, what do you think he does? You think he's putting up Tua numbers?
First, I think he's doing better.
That's what I'm saying. Like, yeah, I'm so like,
But here's my thing, though, right? I give you Brock Purdy. The same thing,
okay.
right? I'm telling you right now, San Francisco would be better if they had Tua Tagovailoa. Miami would be worse. You know why?
Are you sure about that?
Yes, I'm absolutely sure about that. You know why? Because their weapons that they have over there on both sides of the ball, because defense impacts offense depending on where you're getting that ball back, right? It is such a perfect situation, right? Where it's easier to play in. Brock Purdy comes over there. Yes, he's getting a better wide receiver, but is he getting a better wide receiver core? I don't know, because that halfback is a Swiss Army knife. The halfback situation, even though the two of them down in Miami just had a great year, everybody is taking CMC 12 days out of the week. And if they're not taking him, it's because sadly he might be in a boot. All right. That's the only reason why. Even coaching, most people are taking San Fran's coach, so it's like it's just a better situation. So for me, I hear what you're saying. Yes, there's better guys out there, but can they go out there and get them? No. There's nobody out there right this second that you can say they should absolutely go get out. Tua has been better than the guy that they wanted to replace him. Deshaun Watson hasn't done a damn thing since he's been with Cleveland. Hasn't done a damn thing his last 2 years in Texas. All right. So it's like even the guy that they wanted to bring in has underperformed him. And it's not like he has nothing to work with. Better defense, really good wide receiver, and a better running back in Nick Chubb. So guys that are in better situations than him are underperforming him. So you got to give him some love. We've been very critical over the years of Tua, and he deserved that criticism, but now he has some help. He's never going to be the number one quarterback in the league because I just don't think he has the accuracy. I don't think he has the play awareness. And I don't think that even the mobility, like he does not stand out in any one category where I can say, bar none, he is the best at that ability for a quarterback. However, he's definitely proven than some other guys. Hey, get me some weapons. I'm going to go out there and win some games. I'm going to beat some good teams, and I'm going to put up some big numbers. So it's manageable for me. I think, like I said, he was a top 10 quarterback last year. And I think looking at everything that they have right now, granted, it was closer to 10 for me. I probably had him around, 8 at his height. Like I said, 13 at its lowest, but I think he averaged out somewhere between that 11 to 10 spot by the end of the year, right? And I personally think that he's going to be just fine. And there's nothing better out there that you're going to be able to replace him with, because even the guys that you're looking at in the draft are going to go to worse teams that have way worse situations. You cannot look at the entire NFL, look at 32 starters, and tell me that you are taking straight up 15 guys over Tua right this second.
I am, and if you want me to list them for you, I will. But
you know what? I want you to right now. I know you've been working on a top 10 list. Give it to me.
All right. In no particular order.
In Miami, this is for Miami's situation.
I'm taking Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Aaron Rodgers, Matt Stafford, C.J. Stroud, Dak Prescott.
You have my boy way too low. Don't you ever disrespect him like that.
I said no particular order. I said no particular order. Okay, give me a break.
Better be top 4 next time, baby.
Okay.
All right.
Stafford, Stroud, Dak, Herbert, Hurts, Purdy, Kirk, Goff.
Stop.
Lawrence, Kyler, and Baker. That's 16 for you right there.
I'm not taking Kyler. I am not taking Purdy. Who's the other ones on there? Goff.
Taking Goff over him.
I don't know about that.
Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, he's been underperforming. I want to show him love. I really do. But dude, Tua's been better. Like I said, I disagree with you. I'm with you with a lot of those guys. I'm just saying, I didn't think you could get to 15 before I disagree with you. And like I said, Trevor Lawrence, Kyler Murray, Brock Purdy. No.
I'm taking all those guys over Tua. They've done more with less. than Tua.
I don't know about that.
Besides Purdy, and all right, so
What the hell has Trevor Lawrence done?
you won a playoff game.
Woo. Derek Carr won playoff games. What's your point?
Mr. Rings over here, Mr. uses rings in his
Yes.
debates is poo-pooing playoff
Absolutely.
wins.
You ready? You see that? You see that jersey right there?
Yeah.
See that jersey right there?
Uh-huh.
Right? Hold on, we'll get to it. You see this hat right here? Because I am the bum that likes all these teams with these ridiculous expectations. You know why I like them, Charlie, and you know why I like using the ring argument? Because if you didn't get the chip, we just don't give a damn.
So Tua never winning a playoff game does not matter to you at all. Having 2 playoff appearances and not winning a single game does not matter to you whatsoever.
No, because I think there's 2 sides to the ball and 3 facets because nobody wants to ever talk about special teams, and those other sides matter. And let's not act like Miami's been elite on the other side of the ball in quite some time.
Okay. Well,
let
me put it to you like this, all right? If you're the Miami Dolphins, you're going into this next season, right? And everyone's under the microscope. The Dolphins are cap crunched. They're doing their best to try and make this an all-in year to the best of their abilities financially and with the players they have.
Yep.
Would you rather have for this season coming up Tua or Kirk Cousins?
That's a good question.
Because Kirk Cousins was an unrestricted free agent this free agency. Yep. They could have signed him and not given up anything and cut ties with Tua. And also, actually, no, I'll leave it at that for now.
Well, let's see. Kirk, both of them, their injury histories is not fabulous, right? I know Tua's an absolute warrior. I mean, the guy was out there losing cognitive brain function and still willing to go back out there. I know that
you can't knock his toughness.
Knows the system.
You cannot knock his toughness.
Absolutely not. Like, that guy is a warrior. They need a new medical staff. They haven't got one already, but absolute warrior. Like a guy who knows the system, has been improving each year since we've gotten the weapons for him. I think I got to take the shot with that because, like I said, I think Kirk Cousins was in a great situation. He balled out, but bro, he's older. That injury situation scares me. I think I'm rocking with Tua for this year with the Miami Dolphins personally. Now, if this was Atlanta decided to bring in a whole new thing, I could be swayed the other way potentially. But we're talking about for Miami, and I think he's going to even have a better year than he did this past year.
So Tua is now the 4th highest paid quarterback in the NFL.
That's not going to stay very long. As you said, my friend, each one of these contracts that is signed today, a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now is going to look like the cheapest thing you could have possibly done. So I hear you for right now, but using Charlito Baduini's logic, that contract is going to look spectacular.
All right, so I don't disagree. You're probably right. I mean, some guys are gonna lap him probably next summer, but Kirk Cousins is making $45 million this year. Tua's making 53. You could have saved an extra $8 million that you could have used to pick up another defender, or a linebacker, or somebody. And unfortunately, the Dolphins coughed that money up, and now they're going to be stuck with Tua for the next 4 years. For me, I just think if you're the Dolphins and you know that you need to start Chris Greer, Mike McDaniel, it's time to put up or shut up because this is entering year 3, no playoff wins, and the Dolphins haven't won a playoff game since the early 2000s. They need to win this year, and from what Tua has shown you, and I'm not saying he's not tough because he came back from one of the most devastating injuries we have seen in recent memory in the NFL, but a guy who is just not he's not an Iron Man, you know what I mean? He's not guaranteeing you 17 games a year, and I'm not saying Kirk Cousins is either, but with Kirk Cousins, at least this guy's at the end of his rope. Once he's done, we can start fresh. We can cut ties with Tua. He's still on the younger side of 25, I want to say, and you just don't. I don't see him exponentially improving year by year if he hasn't already.
Charlie, I mean, I just got to be honest with you. We've seen the improvement, though, right? I mean, 2022, 3,548 yards, 25 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. This next year, the next season, right? 4,624 yards, 29 touchdowns. Granted, there was 14 interceptions, right? But they also threw the ball down the field a lot more this season than any season prior. Like they were just slinging it, go out there, fetch it. Like it was almost like that Eli Manning style offense of, hey, let's throw a 50-50 ball up there, and we are confident that the guy on the other end of it is going to come down with it enough times where it's worth the gamble. You know, they also, like we said, the defense, it was better than years prior. It's going to be interesting how it looks this year with an entire new look, but they brought in a nice coach that on that side that might be able to revamp things, has had success on that side of the ball in other places. We'll see what happens. But I mean, the yards go up, the touchdowns went up. Granted, the interceptions went up a bit, but they also were risking a lot more. So, and looking at it from 2020 to 2021 to 2022, there's growth every year. 2023, there's growth in two statistics, takes a step back in one statistic, right? So it's like more yards, more touchdowns have come every year than the season prior. Granted, interceptions went up a bit, but when you're throwing the ball that much more, especially slinging it the way that they did, that's going to happen, I feel.
So yeah, 160 more attempts from 23 to 20 or 22 to 23. The completion percentage went up, which is impressive. Only 1,100 more yards. The thing that scares me is only 4 more touchdowns with 160 more attempts. That's the only thing that that's not good. That's
I hear you.
Yeah. Interceptions are
No,
up.
listen,
You're right.
I'm not saying this guy is an elite quarterback in terms of I want to put all my stake behind him compared to every other quarterback. I'm saying he's manageable and he can be that bottom tier of 10.
I disagree, but it is what it is. We'll see how the Dolphins do this season because they are going to be regressing a little bit roster wise. The offensive line, they lost a few guys. The defense, they lost a lot of guys. Still got Tyreek and Waddle, so no excuse there. But the Dolphins will definitely be a very interesting team to watch going forward this season. So more quarterback.
You better not prove me wrong, dude. I've been a Tua hater for you. I just don't like Alabama quarterbacks. Like I've never been a fan of, like, I didn't like Hurts until he went over to Oklahoma. And if he doesn't go to Oklahoma, I don't think he makes the NFL because he absolutely revamped stock there. But I've just never been a fan of Alabama quarterbacks. But Tua is a guy that I want to root for.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. Okay. Hater. Get your haterade.
A guy I would take over Tua right now, and I actually didn't even list on my top 16 quarterbacks. Jordan Love, Green Bay Packers quarterback, now up there with Joe Burrow and Trevor Lawrence as one of the highest paid quarterbacks in football. 4 years, $220 million extension. As I said, tied for the most money on a per year basis at $55 million.
My apologies. The dog is trying to get attention right now, but I heard everything that you said. He's worth it, right? Both Tua for me, not at 15 yet though, so keep that in mind. But listen, I feel like he's done more than Trevor Lawrence has with way less help. I mean, best wide receiver is a question mark up there. Who is it? Christian Watson, Romeo Dobbs. I mean, both of them have their their moments of shining, little injury spells here and there, but like it's just he is working with nothing. And now best running back that he had is no longer there. They bring in Josh Jacobs, which could be better, could be worse. Probably going to be about an even swap out for me because they're both quality. But comes down to Dallas on an AT&T Stadium, gets the job done in the playoffs, right? Goes against San Francisco, takes them all the way to deep waters before eventually getting drowned. But still, like, imagine if they actually had a star player to throw to. Imagine if they had a defense like even Dallas, San Fran, or Baltimore has put out there. They have absolutely none of that whatsoever. And this kid is in shining moments. We should have known because every time that these guys draft a quarterback, when they drafted him, we were all like, what the hell are you doing? You're not going to go and get the 4-time reigning, I'm sorry, at that time, 3-time reigning MVP. some help at the wide receiver, you're not going to go all in and try to win a Super Bowl. They said, no, we see the writing on the wall. We know where we're at, and we actually are thinking about revamping and retooling. So we're going to go draft this kid who we think could be the next one. Because why? It worked out when that happened to Brett Favre, and now it's going to work out now that it's happened to Aaron Rodgers. And I wouldn't be surprised that it works out when it eventually happens to Jordan Love. But this kid is absolutely worth the money, my friend.
I 100% agree. I think this was going to get done. Same point we talked about last week, and Mazz, as you mentioned earlier, the contract's only going to get better as the years go by. I mean, right now he's the highest paid, but it won't be like that next year. Jordan Love definitely has that ceiling of he can make all of the throws on the fields. He's got great athleticism, can move around. He is the textbook archetype for the kind of quarterback you want going in this modern era. I don't see why the Packers shouldn't have done this. They did take a little longer than I thought they would, but we knew it was going to get done.
Have you seen the guy that there's a player out there that you can like buy stock in his career?
Yes. Yeah.
I forget the name of it. Hold on one second. Let me see if I can find it.
I want to say it's a Broncos linebacker or something.
It is a Broncos player. I just cannot remember what his name is right now. But essentially the way that it worked is that I guess if you pay money up front now, if he gets like the second contract, then like it's gonna pay off in terms of like return, because like that money's going to like you're getting like a percentage of that because he's getting like the money up front. And I just like, this kind of sounds like a scam, but like at the same time, I kind of wish that was a thing that I could buy stock in certain guys. I would love to buy stock in Jordan Love, because I think it's just it's here from the start, sitting back behind Aaron Rodgers. This is like the bottom floor. Like he was just nobody thought about him. And then he got a little playing time and went, whoa, the kid actually did something, but it was garbage time. Let's see when he gets to a real game. And then all of a sudden, boom, we skyrocket. And we're not at the pinnacle of it, but like we are approaching, we're already at top 15. We are what's it called? Encroaching top 10 territory. And I don't know where the threshold actually is because, like I said, I haven't been entirely impressed by a wide receiving core. I have not been entirely impressed by an organization in every other position. I've been impressed with the fact that they went and got this guy, especially the moment that they did. But the sky is legitimately the limit in Jordan Love. And I think just like Amazon stock in the early 2000s, nobody was really paying attention to it unless you were really about it. And it is skyrocketing, and you want to be on the train now before that train has absolutely left the station and there's no chance of getting a piece of it.
With you there. The sky's the limit for Jordan Love, and Packers, once again, smart to get this done now. And I think they're primed for a great season as well. I think they will be the main competition for Detroit in the NFC North. That's something we can talk about in the coming weeks as we inch closer and closer to the actual games being played. But yeah, shout out Jordan Love, future Jets quarterback, eventually, I'm sure, getting his generational wealth.
What?
What?
Bro, I don't think you guys have somebody on the roster right now that could be the guy when Rodgers leaves.
Jordan Travis?
Yeah. He
could. I was just making the joke because Favre, Rodgers,
No, I hear you.
You know what I mean?
hear you. But I'm saying, like, if Rodgers leave, that could be the guy. I don't know, but it could.
Yeah, I'm excited to see him in some preseason action these next upcoming weeks. But our last little bit of quarterback news: Justin Herbert is going to be out for the summer with a foot injury. He's supposed to be ready by week 1, but Mazz, I'm a big Justin Herbert guy. I'm a big believer, but one of the big knocks against him is he tends to be a little fragile. He gets hurt a decent amount of times a year.
I hate to criticize a guy for it, but it's just something that you literally have to talk about. It is a facet of the game, And I've said this time and time again. You could be the most talented guy in the world. You could be the generational arm talent. You could be the guy that the team has known before the draft. This is going to build the empire that we want to. But the best ability is availability. It does not mean a lick if you cannot be on the field and stay on the field. I hope he recovers. I understand why you have the stock in him. You believe in him more than I do, and I understand that. The numbers off the charts when it comes to like his previous years. Absolutely has lit up the lead, put it on fire. My thing with him,
one of those guys like Jordan Love who he can make just about every single throw on the football field.
yes. My thing is that I think that we want to put him over established guys based off of the potential when I'm looking at a sure thing. And it's not that he's not good and even great. It's just guys are better, have been doing it longer, and I'm more comfortable in having them perform than he does personally, you know? But he's going to be fine. I can't wait to see him on the field, especially with Harbaugh as the head coach. Granted, mainstay wide receiver no longer there. It's going to be, I think, a step back, but I think we're going to see him be relied upon more now to really make those throws. This is not going to be a Daniel Jones situation where nobody's going to get elevated. Some guy that we haven't even heard of really is going to ball out because he put a ball in a great position for him to make a play on. This is a guy that absolutely can elevate talent. If you get the right pieces around him, could potentially take you all the entire way, right? And I don't say that often, you know that. But you just have to look at what the facts are. This kid could be generational. I think we need to pump the brakes in terms of the love that he gets, but it's so hard to criticize everything else. We just have to properly place him. He's absolutely a top 10 quarterback, somewhere in that the lowest 9, highest, as I've heard, top 5, borderline top 5.
Yeah,
he's somewhere in that 9 to 5 range, and it's only going to go up.
I agree with that sentiment on the ranking. He's definitely in the bottom half of the top 10 quarterbacks list in the league. It's just it's the injury history, but I don't know, man. There's not a lot of quarterbacks right now in terms of like if I'm starting a franchise and I'm looking at the vast quarterbacks across the league, he is up there with some of the guys that I would take right now to start with because I just think the sky's the limit for him. I've never seen personally, I'm sure it's happened before, he's throwing frozen ropes with a broken rib. Like that to me is just something that you cannot teach. And I know it's one thing. I know it happened one time 2 years ago, but I just think the guy's special, and I hope for his sake that he can stay more healthy going forward. But
the only reason why, too, is like when it comes to starting that franchise, I can understand why guys would have him high, because if you're in some situations, like they're not going to be ready for a couple of years, that could be the guy you keep him protected, right? But other situations, you're talking about winning now, I'm sure he could help. But there's guys that could just help more.
Yeah. Which is why he's not in the top 5, but he's in the top 10 conversation.
You know what it is, bro? I'm sorry to come back to it, and I'm going to be annoying. I'm sick of hearing everybody's better than Dak, and they're just not. That's just it. That's it.
So I hate to piss you off, but if I'm starting a franchise today, I'm taking Justin Herbert over Dak Prescott.
Okay, but here's my question though, right? You're in win now ready mode. You're taking him over Dak?
No, if I'm the Miami Dolphins, if I'm the Dallas Cowboys, this is my all in year, and otherwise we're all getting fired. Yeah, give me Dak Prescott.
Thank you. I understand. Dak's getting a little older. This kid's a lot younger. I'm fine with that. But if we're talking about I need the next 2 to 3 seasons, give me Dak every day of the week. And you know what? Somebody better give Dak his money, because have you seen the way that man's been talking in interviews? Bro, he's fed up.
I would be too. I would be too.
I can't blame him. Dude, that is the kind. I'm worried because that is the kind of statements that he's making right now where it's like, I dare you to let me hit free agency. Because I promise you, I will go get what I'm worth. And I will go somewhere that not only needs me, but wants me.
Yeah.
And not only that, because we do need him. I'm sure we do want him. But they are going to properly value me. Cowboys fans have been disrespectful for Dak for years. Oh, we're not winning Super Bowls. Every year it's the Cowboys' years. No, it's not, dog. We have glaring holes, and it's not at quarterback, my brother. Thank you.
not to perpetuate the Dak situation, because I feel like we've talked about this like I think every episode for the last 3 weeks, but
I know, dude. I'm so
I'm
sorry.
no, it's okay
It's
because
the biggest thing in football.
it's interesting because like it's the Dallas Cowboys. Dak Prescott is he's the face of that franchise right now. It's interesting because like you would just think that I don't even really know where I'm going with this. It's just like how much longer can you take that disrespect? You know what I mean?
You
Like
can't.
if I
You
was him,
can't.
like you'd be burning your way out right now. You know what I mean? Like lesser character guys would be throwing a temper tantrum right now. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like not showing up.
They'd be
Like
throwing an effing fit, Charlie. I know.
yes, they
They'd be
would.
gone. They'd be holding. We've seen guys hold out for less disrespect.
Yes.
All right. I'm going to be honest. Me, myself, in that situation, if I was with a company and that's what was happening, I'm gambling on myself every time. Dog, I don't even want to sign the contract. I'm getting out of this. I'm playing the rest of this one and I am out of here
Yeah.
because y'all have pissed me off that much. But listen, this is a guy who, when it comes to character traits on a scale of 1 to 10, he's a 12.
100%. And the other interesting wrinkle to that situation is the in Dak's contract. There's a clause that says the Cowboys cannot franchise tag him under any circumstances. So he has no obligation to go back to the like they can't tag him to prevent him from even testing the market. He's like literally once this contract is up, he is on the open market.
Benito,
Yeah.
I'm petrified. Bro, they
Anyway,
bumble this. They bumble this. Free agent Mazz, we out here.
wow.
Who wants it?
Wow.
Dude. I've been a believer in Dak since day one. I have been telling people for years, you are a testament to this, that he is elite. And if we bumble this, I will never forgive this franchise. I swear to God, I would just be enjoying Sundays while I sit there and cry of what used to be.
All right. Well, we're just chomping at the bit for football, man. Like, can we just speed this up a little bit? We need to get to week one.
Listen, we need to get to week one, but you know what? There's still some interesting things to discuss. And I, my friend, have something fun for us today.
Yeah, Maz, please share with the class what you have spent the last week working on that you are now holding up to the camera right now.
So, listen, it's not done yet. That's why we're going to discuss to it. But I found online the map of the United States with every Division 1 FBS football team on here. Why? Because, like the rest of America, I've been obsessed with college football 25, and I can't stop playing the game.
Unless
But
you're
there's,
me.
yeah, sorry, Charlie. Well, dude, I've been telling you to get a console. You know, I want to play the PC. I love Steam. Dude, get a console. All right.
Keyboard and
Anyway.
mouse till the day I die. All right.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. That's why you need a controller for some games, right?
I got a controller.
That's what I'm just saying though. Keyboard and mouse to the day I die, but you're playing some of your favorite games with a controller, you schmuck.
Whatever.
What, you playing Madden on there with your keyboard? No. Didn't think so. Thank you.
All right, Maz. So you have realigned and reconferenced all of college football. Is that correct?
It had to happen, dude. I mean, I love college football. I'm not, the end all be all authority on it, but I've been seeing different theories out there of, oh, we should just get rid of more than half the teams, or we should just make these giant power conferences. And everybody everywhere hates how college football is aligned, it seems like, myself included. I have an idea. This is just a theory. This is how I think it should be done while keeping all 134 teams that are in FBS football right now. Let's see if it works.
All right, you want to start from the big boys down?
Let's start with the big boys down.
All right, so we'll start with the biggest of the boys, the SEC.
Yep.
So the real SEC conference is Alabama, Arkansas, Auburn, Florida, Georgia, Kentucky, LSU, Mississippi State, Missouri, Ole Miss, Oklahoma, South Carolina, Texas, Texas A&M, Tennessee, and Vanderbilt. Maz, what is your SEC?
So I'll tell you right now, they got a lot of it right, of course. Like, the mainstays are going to be there. I hate that Texas and Oklahoma have come over. Some guys shouldn't even be in the SEC to begin with. So I've cleared things out. I've completely mixed everything around, starting from top to bottom in alphabetical order. Our new SEC: Alabama Crimson Tide, of course, the Arkansas Razorbacks, the Auburn Tigers, the Clemson Tigers have now joined in from the ACC. Our Florida Gators are still there. The Florida State Seminoles are joining over. The Georgia Bulldogs are staying. They will be now joined by the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. Our LSU Tigers, this is going to be the battle for the Tiger name, I'm telling you at this point, all going to be in there. Miami Hurricanes are joining the conference. The Mississippi State Bulldogs are staying put. Our Ole Miss Rebels are staying put. South Carolina Gamecocks are going to be in here along with our Tennessee Volunteers. That is my new SEC, my friend.
I dig it. I like bringing Georgia Tech in because they weren't initially in the SEC, were they?
No, they were not. They were in the ACC, but it just makes sense. I mean, the biggest rivalry in Georgia is Georgia and Georgia Tech,
and they,
even though Georgia's winning that one, but still.
And they do play each other every year still, don't they, regardless?
I'm pretty sure that they do, and you know what? I think that it just makes sense to group them again together, and if I'm not mistaken, they had more rivalries in this conference than they did being in their old conference.
And I also really like the Florida rivalries with bringing in Florida State, along with the Gators and the Hurricanes, obviously.
I truly appreciate you, but yes, Georgia Tech rivalries: Alabama, Auburn, Clemson, Georgia, Tennessee, and then Vanderbilt and Virginia Tech. Of course, they're going to lose out, but we got them with the bulk of their rivalries. And I'm sick of the top Florida schools not playing each other. I mean, it's always a big game whenever they match up, whether it's basketball, whether it is football. Putting Florida State, Florida, and Miami together just makes sense to me, my friend.
Mm-hmm. All right, going over to the Big Ten. Of course, the reigning conference of the national champions, but the Big Ten as currently constructed is a little interesting because they got guys from all over the place after the I guess you want to call it the dissolving of the Pac-12, but we got Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Michigan, Michigan State, Minnesota, Nebraska, Northwestern, Ohio State, Oregon, Penn State, Purdue, Rutgers, UCLA, USC, Washington, and Wisconsin.
Horrible. The graphic that they put out was awesome to see it like spanning like the United States, but it just does not make sense to me. So our Big Ten is now going to be rebranded to the Big 14 as I matched some different teams in here, starting again alphabetical order. We have the Illinois, I believe Fighting Illy is their name. The Indiana Hoosiers, the Iowa Hawkeyes, Iowa State Cyclones, Michigan Wolverines, Michigan State Spartans, the Minnesota Golden Gophers, the Missouri Tigers, Northwestern. Are they the Wildcats? They're definitely the Wildcats.
Yes.
Notre Dame, welcome to a conference. I hate independence. I don't want to see it anymore. The Fighting Irish are joining our Big 14. Again, Ohio State, the Buckeyes will be there. The Penn State Nittany Lions will be there. Purdue Boilermakers. What a weird name. Honestly, at least it's unique, but so weird. And our Wisconsin Badgers will round out our new Big 14. I love it.
I like it too. Definitely one of the bigger powerhouse conferences in the country. I love putting Notre Dame in there. I mean, the last few years they had a bit more of a ACC leaning schedule, but obviously, you change that up as well. But Notre Dame definitely belongs in a more powerful conference with the likes of, Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State. I think that's a conference where they definitely belong.
Yeah, it just makes way too much sense for me. Like we said, geographically, it's perfect, and we got big rivals in there. Of course, you're not going to see convicts versus Catholics unless you're into the playoffs. I'm a Miami fan, so I love seeing that. I love that matchup getting after it. I don't know how it became that name, how messed up bums, but anyway, I want to see that in the playoffs. We're still going to get it. Those teams are going to be good enough to face each other at some time. But I think just Notre Dame versus Michigan, Notre Dame versus Ohio State, just a little bit more important for me.
Agree. Definitely agree. Let's go over to the ACC. I think we figured that name out earlier. It's the Atlantic Coast Conference. Thank you, Mazz. So the current real ACC has 18 teams in it. It's got Boston College, University of California, Clemson, Duke, Florida State, Georgia Tech, Louisville, Maryland, Miami, North Carolina, NC State, Pittsburgh, SMU, Stanford, Syracuse, Virginia, Virginia Tech, and Wake Forest.
Again, not horrible, but again, why are California schools on the Atlantic Coast Conference? It just does not make sense. We've already borrowed some teams from them and put them elsewhere, but revamping it, we have App State getting promoted. They've been on the rise. I believe they're the Mountaineers, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't know, but
Charlie, pull that up for me. I think I got that one though, if I'm not mistaken. We are going to put Duke staying put there, the Blue Devils, the Kentucky Wildcat, the Louisville Cardinals, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
Marshall Thundering.
App State was correct, by the way.
Thank you. Marshall Thundering Herd. Welcome to the SEC. The ACC. Good God. Marshall Thundering Herd. Welcome to the ACC. The Memphis Tigers. Welcome. Again, there's way too many damn Tigers. I hate it. The North Carolina State Wolfpack. North Carolina Tar Heels, of course, you guys can stay right where you're at. The UCF, University of Central Florida Golden Knights, welcome. University of South or Southern Florida, USF, I apologize. I forget what you guys are, but I believe they're the Bulls. Get me on that one. Help me out there. Vanderbilt, Virginia. Vanderbilt. Why do I always forget what Vanderbilt's name is? Charlie, any idea?
Commodores.
I'm gonna be honest, I wasn't getting there. I could literally picture their mascot, but anyway, the Vanderbilt Commodores will be joining the Virginia Cavaliers, the Virginia Tech Hokies, and the Wake Forest Demon Deacons to round out our ACC.
I'm digging it. I like keeping the Eastern, Middle Eastern United States, that whole area. I mean, of course, besides the two Florida teams you got stuck in there, but everything else to me makes perfect sense. And they're also just, those two Florida teams are on the same level of the rest of those teams in that conference, I would say.
Yeah, and you know what? We're keeping, the South for the most part together. Like, it just makes sense to me. And we had to put those Florida teams somewhere. So a little distance has to be traveled, sure, but they just fit up there for me.
All right. Going over to one of my personal favorites. I'm going to miss them a lot, but of course for this exercise, we brought them back full time, right, Mazz?
Oh, are you talking about the Pack, my friend?
I'm talking about the Pack, baby.
No, we're calling it the Pack because I don't want to see any numbers in the name, to be honest, I guess. We can still call it the Pac-12 because I put 12 teams back in there. But Charlie, it has been decimated.
Yeah, as of right now, there's only Oregon State and Washington State currently residing in the Pac.
Absolutely horrible. The Pac should be brought back. I rebranded just a little bit, but Pac-12, Arizona, of course, the Wildcats, Arizona State Sun Devils, Boise State Broncos, the Cal Golden Bears, the Fresno State Bulldogs, the Oregon Ducks, the Oregon State Beavers, the Stanford Cardinal, the UCLA Bruins, the USC Trojans, the Washington Huskies, and the Washington State Cougars are our Pac-12, according to yours truly.
Yeah, I don't see. I mean, took BYU out, but other than that, it makes perfect sense to me. Um, I'm gonna miss these guys, man. These teams are meant to be playing each other on a weekly basis, and unfortunately, next year is gonna be the first time in a really long time we're not gonna be seeing that on a weekly basis.
For sure. And you know what? BYU did have to get out, but I put them with their in-state rivals of Utah and Utah State. So it had to happen.
Yeah. And which conference was that? That was,
Our Mountain West.
which is a great segue into our new Mountain West. So, Mountain West Conference, as of right now, 12 teams: Air Force, Boise State, Colorado State, Fresno State, Hawaii, Nevada, New Mexico, San Diego State, San Jose State, UNLV, Utah State, and Wyoming.
Um, Almost there. I don't hate it completely. But again, revamp just a couple of things. Our Mountain West, Air Force, BYU, Hawaii, Nevada, New Mexico, New Mexico State, San Diego State, San Jose State, UNLV, Utah, Utah State, and Wyoming. Welcome.
I love it. Although, Hawaii and the mountain, I know you didn't move them at all, but I guess there's mountains in Hawaii, right?
There is beautiful mountain ranges in Hawaii, and I'm sorry they just weren't good enough to put into our pack. I think they have to be in the Mountain West. So it might not be the same mountain range, but they do have mountains in Hawaii.
All right. What do you say we go over to the Big 12, huh?
Oh yeah.
All right. So as currently constructed, the Big 12 is not the Big 12. They have 16 teams. They have Arizona, Arizona State, Baylor, BYU, Cincinnati, Colorado, Iowa State, Houston, Kansas, Kansas State, Oklahoma State, TCU, Texas Tech, UCF, Utah, and West Virginia.
Once again, not horrible, but just some things just not making sense. So our Big 12 has become our Big 14, where Baylor, Colorado, Colorado State, Houston, Kansas, Kansas State, Nebraska, Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, SMU, TCU, Texas, Texas A&M, and Texas Tech will be battling it out. That kind of middle of the country, just absolute mayhem. They all make sense going together. We got the big Texas schools with the big Oklahoma schools, the two Kansas schools, the two Colorado schools. It just makes perfect sense. And Nebraska is right in that region. They needed a home. It makes perfect sense.
So you realize we have two Big 14s, right?
Yep.
So
that's
I think
why
we got a Big 14 North and Big 14 South, sounds like to me.
Honestly, I would not like to call it that just because of the indications of North and South kind of thing. I will be recalling this and borrowing it a name just because when I think of these teams, I just think of the biggest patriots in the country that we have. I mean, Texans love America along with Oklahoma. I'd say, listen, all states love America, but like there's just like teams that like you just think of like America. This is especially America. This is where I think of. So I will be renaming our Big 14 into the American Conference and stealing a name.
All right. So what do you say we go over to the actual American Conference?
Sure.
14 teams as currently constructed: Army, Charlotte, East Carolina, FAU, Memphis, Navy, Northern Texas, Rice, South Florida, Temple, Tulane, Tulsa, UAB, and UTSA.
Yeah. So once again, revamped the entire thing. Renaming it to our Sun Belt Conference because the Sun Belt teams just got decimated while we were rebuilding this, and it still fits into the Sun Belt region of the country. But yeah, I revamped the hell out of this. Arkansas State, Louisiana, Louisiana Tech, Middle Tennessee, North Texas, Rice, Sam Houston, Southern Miss, Texas State, Tulane, Tulsa, UL Monroe, UTEP, and UTSA will all be in our Sun Belt. The thought behind this, those Southern teams, all in that Sun Belt region. You got the second tier Texas teams with the second tier Louisiana teams for the most part. The not so popular Arkansas school, It just makes sense putting these guys together. I region and level that they're at really was the thought process, I thought.
Which I think is the most important. Like for these schools, you want to minimize travel as much as possible, right? Like that's what bothers me so much about like the current Big Ten with you got Oregon and Rutgers playing each other this year. Like, what is the need for a team to hop on a plane and go literally from point to point across the country? You know what I mean?
It just doesn't make sense. And like, yeah, some of these guys they have classes while this is going on. Like the only time I feel like that you should really be hitting that giant travel is playoffs.
For bowl games, playoffs. That's really the only time I can see it being like that important. But
And I feel like a lot of these colleges, like they're close in proximity. Like a lot of like, friends are going to like these different areas. They're that close. You might be partying over there. I think having that local talking smack, it gives it that high school feeling of the opposing town rival, just at a slightly, not even a slightly, just at a bigger level. I like this.
all right, so I believe we have CUSA next. If I'm going down the line now after we did the big boys.
We do have this. We have one more, what could be big boy. I think that we've created arguably a power six instead of a power five. The big reveal at the end coming. We'll hit the two other ones. Let's go with the CUSA.
All right. So as currently constructed, CUSA consists of FIU, Jacksonville State, Kennesaw State, Liberty, Louisiana Tech, Middle Tennessee, New Mexico State, Sam Houston, UTEP, and Western Kentucky.
Well, as you already heard, we've decimated this one and revamped and given a new home. Coastal Carolina, FAU, FIU, Georgia Southern, Georgia State, Jacksonville State, which is in Alabama, James Madison, Kennesaw State, South Alabama, Troy, UAB, Western Kentucky, the new CUSA. 12 teams, baby.
I'm digging it. I like that whole region down there sticking together. And James Madison, one of those programs that has made the leap in recent years from 1A to 1 divisions I'm talking about. And they got a nice little home there in the CUSA. I like it.
FCS becoming FBS, baby. They've put in the work, and they are finding a home in our CUSA.
Now,
again, once again, our CUSA is basically our worst SEC.
Right.
And ACC, I guess. No disrespect, but that's just where I feel that they belonged and where they're at. Charlie, my favorite conference in all of college football, because it doesn't need to be touched. I did not need to touch it. Why did I not need to touch it? Because the level of competition, the region, the quality of teams, it just all makes sense. Our Great Lakes region teams, the MAC, should not be touched at all by anybody.
I agree. Yeah, that region is perfectly mapped out and squared out, and it should absolutely stay that way.
So of course, if you don't know, Akron, Ball State, Bowling Green, Buffalo, Central Michigan, Eastern Michigan, Kent State, Miami, Ohio, Northern Illinois, Ohio, Toledo, and Western Michigan are the MAC, and it should be called the masterpiece because it is a masterpiece of a conference. I love it. That's the one thing that college football got right.
I love it. The MAC. What does MAC? What does MAC stand for?
The Mid-American Conference, I believe.
Right. All right, Mazz. So that leaves us with our last one, and this was the only conference that we somewhat kind of recreated, pulled it from the grave. Big East football is back, Mazz.
Big East football is back. I used our independent column to get us there with it. Our Big East is bigger and better than ever, baby. 14 teams coming after it. And oh, actually, Charlie, real quick, how dare I not put this in alphabetical order? What is wrong with me? Anyway, Charlie, people, especially in our region of the nation, have wanted to see it. We have revamped some things. Yes, I know Miami is not in there. I'm sorry, but it is what it is. Our Big East. I hope people like it. This is literally the Northeast for the most part of the United States, and some other teams that just fit in there, in the region, Army, welcome. Boston College, Cincinnati, Liberty, Maryland, Navy, Old Dominion, Pittsburgh, Rutgers, Syracuse, Temple, UConn, UMass, and last but certainly not least, West Virginia. Welcome to the Big East. All 134 FBS teams across 10 schools, of course, has 12 to 14 in it. Mathematically, this just makes sense for me. I think this is the only way to really do it. We group teams as best that we could.
Mazz, can you go back and do that one more time just from the end? It cut for a little bit there.
Yep, no problem. So there you have it. We've revamped college football, all 134 FBS teams across 10 conferences, ranging between 14 and 12. Mathematically, it just is appealing and it makes sense. Even numbers to get after. You can still schedule out of conference if you want to, but I really don't think that you need to. But I think this is how it should be played. I think breaking each up, maybe even you can still get after it. Listen, dude, this has been a long time coming. I think this is the only way to make sense. As I said, the main things that we had in mind: level of competition, where has your program been at recently, and historic rivalries. We did the best that we could. Of course, not everybody is going to be happy. Is it perfect? I think it's as perfect as we can get to it, with the standards of, hey, I could literally add this to the game and it would make sense. Of course, you can put something out into the world and it just be your mad creation. But we did something that the game would let us do, that makes sense for the people, and that we want to see come back. We want to see the same level, get after it. We want to see the best. Power 6 conferences is here. I think we find a way to get all these conferences representation in the college football playoff. Of course, those lower divisions maybe get a play-in game, right? And some other bids coming from our Power 6, but buddy, this is how it has to be. There's no other way, I firmly believe.
No, I'm with you. I think if the NCAA or whoever's in charge of conference realignment hired you, Mazz, it would be a great hire. And a lot of the pressure on these conference alignments would be taken off their shoulders.
Charlie, it took us almost 2 hours to do this. We had a couple of little debates here and there. Listen, are we college football gurus? No. Do we enjoy the game? Yes. Is this the only way that we could see it possible? Absolutely not. However, this is what we think is the best way to do it. And I hope the people like it. So, you know what? Listen, you want to give the conferences different names? Let us know with these conferences. We'll put up a graphic of the final layout. What do you want to call these conferences? Let us know. We'll have that reveal for you with the response with it. But I think this is how the teams need to be grouped. And like, share, subscribe, hit that YouTube, hit that Spotify, Apple Podcast. We see you. Listen, we're living the dream right now, and we appreciate any support there. So if you've been rocking with us across social media and just enjoying the show, let us know. We want to hear from you, and just know we truly appreciate you.
And big things coming up, Mazz. We got a lot of stuff cooking in the oven.
Big stuff cooking. Shout out our editors. Shout out our social media team. It's coming, baby. And Charlie, thank you for being part of the show.
No, Mazz. Thank you.
You have been listening to the Mazz and Bad Show with Brandon Marrazzo and Charlie Baduini.